Hi, this is Jack from Alpha Charge 365 with 18 market setups for the week starting 1/13/2020. Before we get started, this is not a recommendation to buy, hold, sell any stock or security. This is for informational purposes only. I also may hold positions in some of the stocks mentioned. You should always know your time frame and risk tolerance. Okay, so some changes I'm seeing in relative strength. So I was really bullish on the financials, but if you look at them relative to S&P, I'm seeing that they're kind of falling out of favor now. So where is the new relative strength? And I'm seeing it big time in China. So looking at the Chinese MCHI, it's a beautiful downtrend. We have the trend line break, and I'm seeing these moving averages on this relative chart going up. So curling up, which is great. And if I look at the MCHI as on an absolute basis, we're seeing the index break out of this important area. Now, it has moved quite a bit pretty fast. So I'm not saying this is a safe entry to any of these, but I do see the outperformance here. So let's look at individual names within the Chinese realm. So the first one is Alibaba. And as you can see, we had this big breakout. Again, huge run. I'm not saying this is the perfect buy point, but a pullback, any pullback, would be a extremely buyable pullback. So I think Alibaba is one to keep on the watch list. It's huge. It's got a gigantic market cap. Again, this pullback would be amazing for a new position. Tencent. It's just now breaking out. Again, already had a big move. So I would love to see a test of this 49.75 level, and then it continue moving higher. These moving averages would then catch up. So a retest of this level would make a pretty decent entry point in my opinion. Baidu. So Baidu hasn't quite tested this overhead supply, but again, any pullback in Chinese stocks I think are buyable dips, because even if it pulled back to this 137, it's got a pretty good runway even to the potential overhead supply up here. So Baidu's another one. Autohome. You see, it's got this double bottom look, and I would call this a cheat entry. So when I see a double bottom, and then I could draw the downtrend line within the second one, I think this is a potential cheat entry here. Again, it may chop around in this area a little bit, which would be even better until these moving averages catch up, but they are starting to all curl back up again and move higher. And so the Autohome is another possible. Again, all these are Chinese stocks, which are, headline risk and maybe a little more volatile than some other stocks, US based. Here we go for Wuba, 58.com. Again, broke the downtrend line. Everything's moving higher. I do see this. I'm going to switch to candles. I do see this as, again, any little pullback that could kind of get to this 23-day EMA, I would be interested in. So then we're going to look at Lexi FinTech, whatever this is. So you see it broke out and then is retesting this area right here. Again, what has been an important area, and even back here, if you drew this even further back, it was an important area the whole way. Fairly new company, it looks like. And again, Chinese, so take it with a grain of salt, but look at this volume that's coming in here. So that's what really caught my attention in this particular stock. GDS already broke out. It's kind of testing the 23-day EMA. So again, this would be a logical point maybe to start a position. We're not too far past that breakout point. So they got GDS, VIPS, longer term, broke the trend line right here. and is moving up again. It's moved up quite a bit already. So many of these Chinese names have already started to move, right? So what are we looking for? We're looking for a new consolidation, a new base, a pullback through either time or price, and to make a good entry. But I think Chinese stocks are where the growth and outperformance is. Next up is 51 Jobs. Again, broke the downtrend line, moving averages moving up. Again, would love to see a little pullback here, and then that's an opportunity. QFIN. So what are we seeing here? Here's the important area. Fairly new company, right? Just IPO'd in 2018. Lost a lot of value, but now it's kind of making this bottom look. Things are coming back up. Still underneath that 150-day EMA. So we'd love to see this maybe consolidate a little bit more. Eventually scoop out above it and have these lining up. So I think QFIN is another good potential setup. QTT, very similar looking setup. Again, a recent IPO back in September 2018, and again made this bottom and it's starting to get ahead of it. Get a breakout above, again, cheaper stock, above 420, 425 ish, and I think be above the 200-day moving average, and I think that 150-day EMA, and all the moving averages would line up. It has gone quite a bit though in a short period of time. So what we may see is one more pullback, maybe more than one, maybe a consolidation here, and then the breakout. So again, none of these, in my opinion, are perfect buyable spots. But I think that if we want to have watch lists and focus lists, and where we need to be is on the Chinese names. The last Chinese name is NetEase. Here we go. NetEase looking back. Again, hit this area, came back, hit this area. It would not shock me for this to pull back and hit it again in a fairly short period of time. That's what these kind of tend to do when it hits. Does a kind of a deep pullback, hits again, then you're going to get a shallower, higher low type pullback, and it's going to hit it in a fairly short order. On that second hit, that next one, that's where I'd be looking at maybe for an entry. Again, it would give time for all these moving averages to catch up and give, in my opinion, a safer entry. Okay, so what else am I saying in relative strength land? Well, when I look at the SMH versus the XLK, because we know, hold on, let me back up a second. SPX versus the XLK, right? We know that, how about XLK versus the SPX? That looks better. All right, we know that the technology is outperforming, right? So then, for a long time, semiconductors have outperformed. And listen, they're still doing a pretty good job, but we did see this pullback in semiconductors, and it's testing this relative area right here that I think is important for it to hold. Now, if we break below this on a relative basis, I think that we have a bigger problem, not only in technology, but in the market overall. Right now, we're not seeing that. Everything's okay. But again, below this area, in a relative basis, below the 150-day EMA, I think that we need to maybe get a little more cautious in the market. Okay, so if semiconductors aren't outperforming this very second on a relative basis, what is? Well, social. Look at this. So you have the downtrend, right? You probably draw a line here or something like this, right? And it quite hasn't broken the downtrend line yet, but I am seeing this bottoming look from the shorter term moving averages starting to curl back up. So I think social is a place where we should start to pay some attention to. And within social, I looked up the different components. And wouldn't you know, Facebook, huge component of social. And look at this beautiful breakout right here. Now, very similar to the Chinese stock, it has run quite a bit. Would love to see a retest of this 208-ish level, let the moving averages catch up, and then continue higher. That would be extremely, extremely bullish price action. And once you know it, Tencent, which was a Chinese stock, is a major component of social. And boom, we already talked about Tencent. And again, any pullback would be extremely viable. What else is in social? NetEase. Again, we talked about NetEase. So we're seeing now, not only are we seeing outperformance in Chinese stocks relative to the SPX, but also in the technology sector. So Chinese tech is really, really doing well, right? Baidu is in that ETF, right? And we talked about Baidu and how it'll pull back here, and then you'd have a pretty good amount of white space to potentially play against, right? And the last one of this ETF, which we haven't talked about, was Yandex. So Yandex is right at all-time highs. Everything is looking beautiful. Has this inverse head and shoulder, or at least like a nice big bottom pattern, whatever you want to call this. Now, not saying that. Okay, it's moved from 29 to 44. Okay, so it's gone up 50% basically in a very short period of time. Chances are this is going to pull back and then break out. And that would be the bullish breakout to buy. So this right here, this breakout, no, not interested in this, right? I'm expecting and would love to see a pullback here and then the breakout. And that would be, something like this. Right? Something like that. Yeah, I like that better. Okay? So that's Yandex. Moving on, what else am I seeing? IGV, which is the software stocks versus XLK. Software has been pretty hot lately. And if you notice that we came down here and now we've bounced on this area pretty good. So I think as long as relative basis this holds, I think that we're pretty I think this could be bottoming right here. Again, it may chop around for a while though, which means that we have to pick and choose our spots. And there's 3 software names that really stood out to me. One is Now, right? ServiceNow. That looks pretty good right there. Maybe it needs to pull a handle right here and then out. It kind of goes with the market being a little overheated too right now. I would expect a short-term small pullback over the next couple of weeks. However it shows up, whether it's sideways consolidation or an actual through price 5, 10, 15%, whatever, pulls back. Trade Desk, same thing. Would love to see a little pullback and then breakout. And my last stock of the day is AYX. AYX, Alteryx, has held this trend line pretty well. Again, it's moved 20% rather quickly. Would love to see this pullback, maybe even to 112-ish, right? 113. And then let these moving averages catch up and then move out. Again, know your time frame, know your risk. Not a lot of these that I mentioned today were completely actionable for buying on Monday, but I don't think that's the point. I think the point is to say, okay, when and if the market pulls back, which, again, things are a little frothy right now, where do we want to put money to work? And so watching for relative strength and watching for, what's been working, and then during the pullback, what pulls back the least. So this is the places where I'm focused on in the next week or two. And to see what happens with price action, because in the end, as we've always heard, only price pays, right? So it doesn't matter what I think or what you think, it just matters what the market does. Good luck this week, and have a great day.